Okay. This one's going to be quite an interesting one if you saw the title. I'm going to talk about how no one looks out for white people. Sounds really weird. I'm going to be tackling the social media context mainly today because that's where we all tend to live in more than we need to. And that's where we tend to consume opinions about our groups, race, gender, sexuality, etc. And I've realized something. I mean, it's been clear over the past 10 years, but white people have been talked to, not talked with, and not many people on multiple sides of the political sphere, other than the right, and I'm going to get into the right wing. Not many people on the other sides of the political sphere, other than the right, have truly tried to listen and not shame white people for existing. And because of this, I feel like a lot of white people are like, bro, why do you hate me for something I didn't specifically do that someone did 200 years ago, or from a privilege you claim I have, but I'm still suffering? And there's just this really whole game of like, oh, you exist as this thing, so you're automatically, I automatically can treat you worse because of something that your race has been associated with 100 years ago that you didn't directly do. And I think it's just unfair. And the reason I bring this up is because for some reason, people on sides of the political sphere fail to have the confidence to say, hey, this is not okay. This is not cool, and this is not unfair. And the only people who do it are people who are grifters, dog. Or like people who got crazy beliefs. And I realized this. Hassan Minhaj, and I'm not here to criticize your political agenda, but I want to talk about the emotional manipulation within politics here. Hassan Minhaj had a special, and it was the left wing is the insane, or the insufferable, and the right wing is the insane. It's the insane versus the insufferable. And personally, I couldn't agree more with this statement. So I think what the right wing does a lot of the time is they'll take really valid concerns from people that aren't being addressed in other political parties for some weird reason, and then they'll make insane conclusions with these things. I'm not saying like all right wing. I'm talking about the recent like emotional kind of takeovers of both parties. Both parties are now brands. It's not about policy anymore for all the normal people. It's about some weird culture war. It's about some weird branding war. And that is, in my opinion, manipulation. That is very manipulative. I don't want to even keep that here. But basically, a lot of white men are not feeling understood because people are not taking efforts to understand that, hey, although their race did something years ago, these guys had nothing to do with it. And they're just sitting here getting flack for existing. And that's just not cool. Like, I think I have to say that, like, confidently, like I have to denounce this. It is not cool. However, the only representation who's saying, hey, it's not cool, are people like Tom McDonald who are grifting their ass out from Canada, or like people with crazy-ass policies like Steven Crowder, or just these people who are just hateful and insane. But they're the only ones giving white people permission to feel like them being hated for existing is not crazy. Trump, same thing. Trump doesn't give a shit about anything. Man, I didn't want to get political. Screw it. Trump doesn't care about anyone, bro. He doesn't care about anyone. He doesn't stand for anything, but he's manipulating innocent people because the right wing is the only side of the political spectrum that is willing to call out the fact that this whole hated for being white thing is wrong. Now, I've heard some arguments against this idea of, oh, I'm white and I don't feel like this is a bad thing. And what I want to respond to that with is, I feel like a lot of white people who've discovered a deeper identity within themselves, like I'm Indian, but I've also discovered a deeper identity. I'm not going to die behind like surface level identifications of me. So I can live with criticisms of the Indian government or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, Indian stuff to a degree. I still get offended, but like I identify more with a musician. So I found my deeper identity through, self-exploration. And a lot of white people have found a deeper identity through self-exploration to where when they can exist in this environment and not feel so insulted by people insulting white people all the time, right? But a lot of people haven't. A lot of people haven't found their deeper identity. So the only thing they have is being white, which I don't think is a good thing for any race, but it's how it is. And for these people, they're being shamed. Instead of being pushed to help self-explore and actually understand the topics, they're being talked at. They're being immediately invalidated. And the only people who are validating them are the people with insane conclusions. Oh, now, like, I feel really like the valid thing is, hey, you're white, people are hating you for no reason. That's not fair and that's not cool. But the insane conclusion is, hey, trans people gotta die, like, or some shit like that. Like, the insane conclusion is something that doesn't have to do with your pain, but has been grouped from a masterclass in emotional manipulation to turn your real pain that the left has not addressed into a weapon for some random ass group so they can make money. I don't want, like, this is so crazy. I mean, it's just branding, dog. They want to get your vote. They know you have power. They want to get you into some sort of movement or cause instead of sitting here and saying, I feel you and I understand you. And the left wing, for some reason, is on the insufferable side, where they got right policies. I mean, they're technically right about a lot of things, in my opinion, but the way they go about it is so incredibly annoying and insufferable and alienating that you do not feel emotionally heard. I've interacted with sides of both circles, and I realize that there's just a lot of people who are being emotionally insulted by the left-wing party and don't even believe in the radical right, but are moving towards it because those are the only people who have the balls to say that white people being hated for no reason is not okay. And I know it's a completely different world outside of the social media sphere. I understand that, and that's a whole different degree to this. Like, I would say that white people definitely have more advantages outside of the social media world in comparison to the social media world, where they probably are the most ostracized, right? But it's so interesting because we're living in two different worlds. Like George Floyd, right? He died for like race. The racism had a like real death impact. Like that hit. That's not okay. That definitely is, I'd say, worse than social media. But social media is where we spend our lives in. So anyone being ostracized and shamed through social media is also an important pain to address. So there's two different worlds we're living in, and I think people are scared to really just address the fact that, hey, on the world that we live in the most, which is social media now, white people are just getting hated for no reason. And that is going to create some alienation to move to a party with insane conclusions that actually embraces them. So that's what I have to say. I don't want to, if you're conservative or anything like that from a policy perspective or stuff like that, I get it. I'm not, this is not about you, because I get it. I respect it. But if you're a part of this emotional manipulation scheme that's happening, then I want to wake you up right now and be like, yo, your pain is valid, and I'm sorry nobody has told you, to any I guess white man watching, your pain is valid. I'm sorry nobody has told you. I'm sorry the side, like a side is screwing you over, but whoever you're leaning towards, go double check on them, because some of them are not genuine. I mean, you're seeing it more and more. So I feel like this is just something we need to address. And instead of trying to immediately, and especially as men we do this, we immediately, instead of addressing a pain, addressing a problem, we immediately have to turn it into a lesson or a conclusion. We cannot feel emotions as men, or at least we're not taught to feel emotions and not create some sort of conclusion. And this is why the right wing is emotionally manipulating a lot of young men, is because it creates a conclusion for your pain instead of sitting here and hearing it out. You can find the answer to whatever your pain is if you just listen to it and feel it out. And nobody's telling you to feel it out because it's better for them to take your pain and manipulate that into their purpose. Maybe your pain has nothing to do with politics. It's just not being heard as a white person and a white man in this age, which is completely fine of a pain. But somebody's taking that pain so they can make money, and they're turning it into basically a radicalization for their movement. And this is what's happening to us all the time. But I want, like, for anyone watching this again who's just a white man who's getting shitted on from the social media world, feel that. And it's okay, and it is wrong. It is wrong. And feel that, and really, if no one's told you, like, hey, that's wrong, then feel that right now, and don't look for some random guy to give you a conclusion to do because it's wrong. Just feel it. And I feel like so much of our problems and radicalization is not going to happen if people just feel their emotions versus, like, immediately having to come up with a conclusion. Because nobody's telling you to feel your emotions because it doesn't benefit them, dog. Nobody's telling you to feel your emotions. The left wing, it doesn't even believe your emotions exist, or at least a lot of them. The right wing, it just wants to use your emotions to further their cause. And all of these groups, dog, it's not just left wing, right wing. Every branded group online is trying to take your feelings and turn them into some sort of support for their cause, directly or indirectly. But what about your feeling? Who is telling you to just feel your feelings, dog? Just feel it, man. Don't try to make a conclusion for it. Just feel. If you feel hurt, feel that. And feel the fact that it feels like no one's looking out for white men, at least in the social media context. I don't feel like they have a place without, like just doing a bunch of hurdles, jumping a bunch of hurdles. So I'm not saying anything anyone on the left is saying is wrong, but I'm saying that if people don't feel emotionally heard, they're going to go towards where they feel emotionally heard. And if no one is just giving them a space to feel emotionally heard without drawing a conclusion, we open ourselves up to a lot of emotional manipulation from political parties. So that's what I want to say to everyone white, I guess, white men specifically.